Hello, Ioannis and Fabrice for MAMAZA. So the first question is, how did you meet and why have you decided to work together after you met?
You start. We met a long time ago, when we were kids. I was 6 and you were what? 14, 15. And in ski holidays.
Where?
That's how we met.
In Switzerland.
Switzerland.
In the mountains.
Yeah.
And then how it continues your
that
friendship?
That was it. We met. We were friends. I don't say.
Well, we met, and then his mother is a dancer, his father is a dancer and choreographer. And his mother kind of made me start dancing, and I started a bit too late, so it was a bit hard to go on, and then I moved to Athens because people were starting later. Anyway, so I lived with his family and him in Athens. I studied he's Greek and Swiss. His mother is Swiss, so I'm Swiss. I lived in Athens, and I worked with his father. Then became a professional, danced in a few companies, and then we met again later on in the same company, which is William Forsythe's company, and we decided to work together. And that's one of, I don't know, like the 6th or 7th piece we've done together. The second duet we have choreographed together.
Oh.
That's the story in short.
Are you still linked to the Forsythe company?
The Forsythe company,
It's
nobody
over.
can be linked because it's over.
It's over.
It's
No,
just
but
closed.
is the Forsythe company you still link in the way of dancing?
Oh.
We are developing now our thing anyway. So I think, for example, Mia was not very long in the Forsythe company, maybe 5 or 6 years maximum. You were 18 years. But when we started to work together, we had met also a teacher of martial arts that inspired us a lot. And also, before we started to work together, we were doing works separately. So it's the choreographical work is inspired by different things, but also from a different time. So I started to choreograph before I arrived in the Forsythe company, and you too, like before when you were in NDT. So anyway, when you have a career of a choreographer, it's always a mixture of all the things. It's the knowledge more than anything else. So yeah, of course there is stuff in it, but there is also a lot of things from outside, and then there is all the discovery you do, because you retransform everything anyway.
So how are you able to mix these, as you are both choreographers, how you're able to work together on a same choreography? How can you do that?
There is something about the subject that for us is very important. If we, for example, somebody proposes a subject, and then if everybody likes it, we just say, okay, let's start with this. But then the thing is that we have to create maybe like a third point. So I see the subject somehow, you see the subject somehow, but then what we have to create, if it's what I see or if it's what you see, then we fail. So it still has to be like worked to go to the next level, so that we both see something else from what we see. That's why we collaborate. It's in order to see actually something else that you don't see when it's only you. Or if you're a choreographer and then there's... Sometimes it happens, choreographers give to dancers, like they tell them what to do and then they are surprised. So we are and choreographing and dancing. So maybe, I don't know, he's saying something, then I dance, then he's surprised that I will dance it this way, and then I say something, he dances, and I'm like, he dances it this way. So it's all a question of how you balance the mixtures of the roles you have at each moment, and also in order to get new knowledge or maybe new experience.
When we work, we don't try to apply a style or something that we've acquired through the years. We don't actually really. We do have, for sure, maybe that's our style. But I don't think that we have like a way of moving or something like this. So each time we have a subject, we try to find what would fit that subject. So it could be anything, we could be doing ballet suddenly, or we could be doing acrobatic, or whatever suddenly fits the idea and the concept that we're working on. And so we are each other, and we work with other people sometimes as a bigger collaboration. And we just share ideas, try things, and when we were like, oh yeah, this fits with this, and this actually reveals what we want to talk about, because often what we want to talk about has no specific physicality. I mean, it has, but we have to discover it. We have to kind of allow it to emerge, and anything is possible. So, and we're curious, and we have certain criteria that we agree on together, and sometimes, yeah, we choose things that I think that's also coming from Foresight, because when we work with Foresight, we always have proposed what we do. The material is not coming from him, some of it, of course, but mostly is from us. So you can propose what you feel like proposing to what was demanded before, or the idea, and eventually you develop something personally, and then that you share with other people. But often what was interesting is that we were never afraid of trying or like fetching or feeding ourselves from things that maybe is super cliche or tacky, or it's like everything has its value depending how you contextualize it, how you use it, and where you place it.
Okay. And what about Eifo Efi? So this the performance that you're going to perform tonight. How have you started? Which was the origin of it? How have you worked on it?
It's not tonight, huh?
Tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Because then
Tomorrow.
Doesn't matter.
I saw a moment of panic.
But it's tomorrow, no?
Well, so far. We started, I mean, it was one very basic question I think we had, or like wish, was like, how can we fill a room with more impression of ourselves, or with more people than just us? How can we create a space that is saturated with impressions only with two persons? And how would one be able to do this? So, because we always very curious in the perception of what one sees in all the works we've done. And we thought, it would be interesting to create something that one has the impression when he watches that there's a lot of other things happening at the same time. So a lot of layers. So that was quite kind of one of the basic ideas.
And then so during the process we realized that something that was interesting, or it was working for that, is that we are working simultaneously on different levels. So this is like, for us it was a technical challenge, which we were surprised that we took this choice, but that's exactly what we were saying before. We didn't maybe even want to go there, but that's where it went, the work went. So that's where you have to accept and say, okay, this work is going to be like this. And then that's when you have to actually, first as a choreographer, accept and work on it to bring it further. And then as a dancer, because we do both, to accept that, okay, it's going to be a very difficult piece and we will have a very big challenge to be able to perform it. So we are doing, let's say, multitasks all the time. And the tension that came out is multitask all the time. And so this started to create its own dynamic, rhythm, and that's actually what is, it links as a second, so there's the basis, what we do, and as a second wave, let's say, it links the whole piece. So I think it's very important because, not for this piece, but in general, it's just to make the experience of something fully, it will give you another option that you maybe didn't think, and even you would start to be able to do things you thought they were impossible. And at the end, you have to master it. So of course, we were very slow in the first show, and now it's been 2 years, and
we're slower.
We are slower.
After the vacation,
we are like going, for example, much further how we develop things, and it's part of the life of the piece. It's very important that we still, and of course, it's all improv. So it's part of the piece that it all is being created under our experience and under your eyes. This is a very important thing because for us communication is very important, and sometimes you have a bit of empathy in communication. So if you see us struggling with something, it could touch you in a way. If we are totally, I don't know, if we're having like a distance, it to touch you differently. If we have, let's say, if we're like, comment tu dis à l'aise? If we're comfortable, it will change again the feeling. So we have to pass, during this piece, we pass from different states so that we have different ways of communicating. Like you say phrase, you don't say the same word, you say different words. So this piece is a bit made like this.
Then what about the use of voice in dance? You use a lot. I don't know if you use it also in other pieces, but it's usually
it's a
dance
voice
and
piece.
voice.
We used it a bit. I used it also in a piece that I just did recently a lot. For us, I think the voice was somehow an expression of what's going on in our heads, or like, like just put on the volume of something that's always there. And of course, it's constructed and it's emphasized and it's contextualized in a specific way. But for us, it was interesting also to reveal, in a way, what is going on in someone's head when he performs. There's so many elements that are inspiring you, whether it's the space, whether it's something that you're thinking about that inspires a certain quality of movement, or it's always multitasking. A performer never does just one thing. You have to balance in one leg at the same time that you keep the rhythm with the other person and feel the light and know where you project towards the audience at the same time, not be too frontal. But there's so many hundreds of elements of it. And this piece is not like, it's not that we talk about this subject, but it's kind of revealing this act of performing, what's going on in there, in our body and everything. And also often, I never know what the other person's performing or what he's thinking while he's performing, but we are together. And this piece is also the same thing. We have two different scores. We have different physical scores, different verbal score. We describe different scenes that have nothing to do, and sometimes they cross over. But we're still very aware of each other, so we're not separated at all. So it's still happening. If you would put the volume down, you would think that we really have a dance that goes along.
It's almost like two solos. Very often it's like we are next to each other in the same space, but we have so much to deal with that you could, like, sometimes we did it also in rehearsals. We would look at each other. So one would do the whole piece by himself and then the other one. So it's very... this is interesting for me because it's a different way to be together on stage, different way to be... it's not that we are disconnected, meaning you see a piece and people are like, oh, they don't communicate, oh my God, they're alone. No, it's made on purpose that you have two solos that parallelly grow and then they cross all the time.
And the voice, I think the voice also, because you were asking specifically, so not only it kind of like reveals what one is thinking or creating or using as tools to develop his movement, but it's also, we think of it as a soundscape, like something that enables the audience to make up with whatever elements they hear or whatever things they hear, construct something, because it's impossible to understand everything. It's almost impossible to choose. You can choose. I mean, that's also an aspect we thought was very interesting, is like you have as one point, you have to like, okay, I'm going to listen only to you. And then still when you listen to only this one person, it doesn't fit with this physicality, because the physicality is connected to something else. So then you're trying to make connection constantly. So you have to edit, as an audience, you have to edit what you're watching. And it's not just what it is what it is. It's a process of, it's quite a bit of work for the audience. So the word, somehow, it's either something that you just let it happen, it's a soundscape, and there's suddenly colors and things coming out, and it changes your perception, what you look at. If you hear about a hill or about a long, tall guy, and then what you're watching has this aspect within your eyes, I mean, it's filtered through this, or it becomes just a sound, which we also think is very interesting. And we were just talking before, we may be invited in a place in another country which they're not very strong English speakers. And we were also talking, Ioannis was talking with this person, like, it's not important, they can grasp parts of it, but you don't have to feel like, oh my God, I have to understand everything about this piece. I mean, you can, it's all levels are interesting, no matter what. And the words are not so complex.
I think nobody managed yet, even if you follow only one person.
I don't know what he's talking about, so I haven't managed. So yeah, I mean, it has different aspects to it, which we like.
So you always ask a lot of effort to the audience, because I remember when I saw it that I was trying to follow both of you.
You saw it?
Yeah,
Yes, I saw it in Zurich.
You saw it in Zurich.
It was really, I was really concentrate, and I had to make an effort all the piece. So do you ask this, I guess, from the audience? You are looking for this, to have a dialogue?
Yeah, because it's the thing is that it's we have to make the experience together. I think one important element is that for us, okay, there is what you see and what we said, like how you see it and what it says to you and all those things. This is one element. But the other level is that we have to make the experience together. So all the tools that are enabling us, so we can use and are enabling us to make the experience or to push you to come with us, or we push ourselves to come with you, for us it's very important. Because otherwise you don't make a real connection and a real link you cannot make by just being in the space. This is bullshit. Sorry to say it like this. It exists, and maybe a physician or I don't know, an architect will tell me that, but humans need to connect and they need to communicate. Communication is a very difficult exercise. Even when we do it, we think we do it, and then we're illusioned we don't do it. So it's very important to, when we have a piece, to actually go towards this work and this direction. It is a 50-50 thing. It's not television, it's not, we are not portraying theater, we are really, and we are not, how you say, like in ancient time in the theater, it was almost used to like bring out demons or I don't know, things of society, and it was almost political.
Exercise.
And you would eat, and at the same time, if you didn't like it, you would throw your chicken on the stage, etc., etc. Although it was a big honor at the time to have a trilogy. But today we have gone to another place totally. I believe we, as a society, we have gone further. And I think the most important thing is to be able to connect as directly as possible. It doesn't mean we do the same thing or we don't have the same role, but we every time an effort to connect further and further, closer to
I mean, I think it's this matter of proximity. Like, how can one understand something if he's outside of it? You know, how one can connect to what's happening if he's distant. And we try always to involve the audience physically, like that they are participating in a way, that they are not just looking, oh, that's interesting, that's what's happening. But for us, I think we think that if there's not a part that is also physicalized, meaning like even mentally being disturbed by what's going on and trying to find out and work, it's also part of, it's a muscle of the body. You know, there's some sort of struggle and challenge. For us, it's a challenge to do it. It should be also a challenge for the audience in a way, and not as a circus. You look, oh, wow, it's doing this, interesting. But your mind has to also wrap itself around it, like change its way of looking. Otherwise, you're just looking at the same thing that you're always looking at. So we trigger a little bit things. We play with the audience, of course. We try to déclencher, trigger. Yeah, trigger some new things, like some ways of. So sometimes you feel uncomfortable. Sometimes also we go straight into the piece like this. Sometimes you feel like, oh my God, this is too much. Hold on. So at one point we also noticed in theater, we've learned that you change, you go on different levels once you saturate into certain things. So if you just do a little bit of extreme, like da-da-da-da, then, oh, we can take it and that's finished, oh, it was fine. But the point where you go like, I can't listen to this anymore. So you drop and suddenly you start listening to something else. So we're also very interested into this longevity, or like this length of how things develop and how much time it needs for you to, that the thing suddenly turns.
Okay, the last question is, in these 2 days have been going on here in Bassano an atelier regarding dance houses. 17 panelists have been gathered here. So what we would like to know is, for you, which are the needs of an artist that a dance house should understand?
Sorry, the needs that we have as artists?
Yes.
And we want to tell them we need this?
Yes.
The dance house.
To the dance house.
The dance house, meaning like a dance house that offers studios,
Yeah,
facilities,
for example,
or
the one
performance?
in Zurich, the Dance House.
Okay.
Oh, that has performance, programmation and everything.
Yes, yes,
like
already, yes,
theater
a dance
structure.
house, yes, right.
Like a house for dance
Yes.
only.
Like the Swiss Contemporary Days was made in the Dance House in
Yeah,
Zurich,
exactly.
so that kind of structure.
So what do we expect, or what would we
See,
need
which
from
are
you?
your needs that you would like to,
Oh, there are so many.
for
One
example?
thing would be to have a stronger collaboration and asking more often that question that you're asking. What do you need? And maybe change a little bit this dynamic of selecting or allowing more and more the artist to decide what sort of setting he needs and what sort of systems or how does it function for his own work, because everybody is very different, and often you just get selected and then that's it, and you do your thing and you go. Maybe there should be something more. I would prefer something more intimate and with more questions to the artist, more responsibility and more collaboration. What do you think? And not only come and show your work, but also what do you think about work in general, or what needs to be showed, or I don't have an answer, but it would be interesting to have more dialogues about this, and a lot of money and.
For me, I would say time, because, for example, very often if we have residencies, or it's like there is one thing in work that you cannot beat is time. You cannot go faster, meaning you could be in any kind of level of your career or any kind of timing in your career, but if you have 1 week or 2 weeks or 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, it's a very big difference. Of course, then you need money to pay the people, to blah, 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 all this. I don't know if this is the responsibility of the dance house. I don't know how each dance house functions, gets his money from where. I know a few, but I don't know how everybody functions. But for sure, there is, I've seen this, and this is something that sometimes has happened, is that suddenly you have 2 years in front of you instead of having 1 month. Because you are, I don't know, artiste associé, or you are this kind of, and then it's very different. Because then you really develop connections, not only with the house, but with the people, then with the audience, with the city, with whatever. And then this shows in the work every time. So I know that nowadays there are many, many projects that are born like this, and they are spontaneous, and it also has a value. But now everything is spontaneous, and very little bit is being really worked. For example, a piece like Eifo Efi, if we didn't work for 10 years together, we wouldn't be able to do it. So this is what I'm talking about, time for real, not time. It takes, first of all, time to become a choreographer. You need at least 10 years of practice. Otherwise, you are doing choreography, but it doesn't mean you're a choreographer. You need 10 years to become a dancer. So meaning, and then very often what happens is that there is something like you are emerging choreographer, or I don't know how they call it, and then you pass on the other side. And then, but there is an in-between part, which is exactly where you need even more time. Because emerging, you could fail a lot and take a lot and you will stand up. Then there is when you know your craft, and then you can really, you have already, maybe you even have your own money then, or you find somehow the way to do it. But the in-between time, which, for example, you're not in this program, but you're not totally like known choreographer. That's the moment you need more time, because that's the moment where you are incorporating in your body all the things that you tried, and at the same time, it's almost like the reverse of time. You know you will get there, but you are doing the exercise of seeing how it will be when you will get there. So this moment is it's around 30 years old or 35, or it's very important, because that's where a lot of choreographers fail, because they find a way during the first years, and then it becomes a recipe, because they don't have enough time to get out of the recipe, because the system is made in a way that with the money, the time, the space, the this, the that, I need to sell, I need to have 50 shows a year, and I need to have 1 creation a year, because otherwise I just cannot pay my rent. And then you produce so much that you burn yourself before to arrive to the third level, which is the important one and the interesting one, because then you really have the means, and you have the means, you can give it to even the younger people. And now it's very important because, for example, I was thinking, personally, I fell in love with 3 or 4 people artistically in my life, and I'm dancing with them. And at one point it will be finished. And then somebody asked me, what do you want to do? I said, maybe after I don't know if it's true what I said, but just a feeling. Maybe I'm going to dance again and I'm going to stop choreographing just because then in this third part you have so much knowledge that when you're younger you don't have, you could just give it there. There are some people that took this choice to stay performers all their life, although when they come in the studio they are choreographing. It's clear. Like there's so many people like this. And this is another way of seeing. But this shows that those people took another decision to give time to themselves. And then they give the same time to the others. That's what it shows. It's a decision on the structural base, but at the end what it does is that they give this time and this knowledge. And this time is very precious. Of course you need a lot, but...
Yeah, I would say maybe in this way, focus on the artists mainly, because there's so much work that is always done by the artist and so little of it rewarded, or paid for, And there's so many things around it, in the programations, and focus on the artist. That's the whole thing about it. You don't do a house to just have a nice booklet, focus everything on that and support it as much as you can. And I find sometimes maybe it's a tricky question because sometimes I find there's too many artists, too many people, just everybody gets a little piece, but you can't get to work like Ioannis said. You need time, you need a certain amount of, if you take the time, you need money to have the time. That's a big question. We always think dancers you don't need to be paid for this, choreographers, it's like you'll do it, but we have time, emails and whatever, we have so many hours that are not paid. So I think it would be really to understand the globality of the work and what it demands and provide this, and also provide, what would be interesting, provide the production aspect, maybe helping the thing to be organized, produced, toured, go deeper into the thing and not just, we'll give you a little money, you perform it and bye-bye, no, we need here sometimes to create and make something that's maybe local, maybe it doesn't need to be so international, what's right here, what's in front of your eyes that you need to support and to found better and really spend every single penny you have left on this and not on something else. That's what I would say. But it's tricky.
Thank you very much.